ونستغفره نعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Continuing inshallah with the matters of Aqeedah, matters of belief. And the last thing we talked about was the bid'ah or innovation in the deen, which is the negation to the Sunnah or to the shahadat anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we said that the first pillar of Islam, 4 things that we need to know, 2 of them and the opposite of them. Tawheed, which is the meaning of La ilaha illallah, the oneness of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all what that means. And we have to know also what opposes this, what negates this, so that we make sure that we do not break it, we do not do something that would break it. And that is a shirk. So we learn about shirk so that we avoid falling in it. And the same thing for shahadat anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that is to follow the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and this is also knowledge to be for a person to learn. And what opposes that is al-bid'ah or innovation of the deen. And this is also important to know so that a person does not negate or break the fact that he says that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the final messenger of Allah. After that, he talks about the belief with regards to the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. And as you see the order, with all the different matters of Aqeedah for the pillars of Al-Iman that was mentioned first, and comes with that of course the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and shirk, and then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then the bid'ah. Then after that the belief or the proper belief with regards to the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the importance of having the proper belief. Why? Because these are one of the things that the Ummah split after the Prophet ﷺ with many things, one of which is the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and how to know that a person is from the people of the truth. Definitely this is something that has to be referred to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And as we already heard it many times, that all Muslims, they would agree that they have to follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That is it according to the understanding of this group, or that group, or this person, or that person. You would have many different things. And the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ does not need these all kinds of confusion and understanding, because it was applied at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and at the time of the Sahaba and the early generations of Islam. The deen is not just text, a book that people can open it and interpret it the way they want. It was practiced. There was verses in the Quran stating that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with these people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them because of their action. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith that the best generation is his generation, and the generation after, the generation after, and that's because their actions. So we have the example in their actions, how to apply the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And part of the hifz, or part of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved this religion, is also their actions and their opinions and their statements have been saved for us. This is by itself is an amazing thing. Why? So that we get to see how they understood this religion and how they applied it. So then the matter becomes so clear that this is the only way that a person would seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is by following the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to the understanding of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and the early generations of Islam. So we have to make sure that we believe them, towards them the proper belief. So the question comes, ما الواجب التزامه في أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وأهل بيته? What is the wajib, what is mandatory for us to have with regards to the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and وأهل بيته, and the family of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. الواجب لهم علينا سلامة قلوبنا وألسنتنا لهم. What is mandatory is that, and this is the right of them on us, is that our hearts are free from any hatred or anything against them, and also our tongues. So the hearts and the tongues has to be free from any form of hatred or any bad things to be thought of them or to be said with our tongues. وَنَشْرِ فَضَائِلِهِمْ, and to spread their virtues. وَالْكَفِّ عَمْ مَسَاوِيهِمْ, and to not to say anything about if something comes in a report or something about something that they did or one of them did and so on, of something bad. Because as a matter of belief, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum are not ma'sumin, they are not sinless people, right? That means they are like human beings, they are bound to make mistakes. They can be sinners, right? This is not something to make them of a lesser level. The only one that is sinless is the Prophet ﷺ. After the Prophet ﷺ, people would commit sins, right? But the difference between the Sahaba and those who came after them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave their sins, right? And those who the Prophet ﷺ died when he was pleased with them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Quran, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with him. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with someone, he would not be angry with him, right, as a result of a sin. That means they were forgiven. So they were not sinless, so they're bound to make mistakes. Even after the life of the Prophet ﷺ, they're bound to make mistakes, but that does not take any of their virtues and their honor whatsoever. Why? Because they were chosen, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, and He made it mandatory for us to follow them. So if there is something bad that comes in some of the narrations about some actions or some understanding or whatever from individuals, right? A person should not spread that. It's not like a person is hiding anything, but so that people do not think of anything negative towards them. وَمَا شَجَرَ بَيْنَهُمْ, and anything that happened between them, like the fitna that happened between them, this is not something to be spread. Some people, they talk about the fitna that happened at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and this has happened, and then they did this. No, it's to stay away from that. This is the proper way to deal with this. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He says in the Quran, تِلْكَ أُمَّةٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ لَهَا مَا كَسَبَتْ وَلَكُمْ مَا كَسَبْتُمْ وَلَا تُسْأَلُونَ عَمَّا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Although it was about the nations before, but it's something that is the same for every nation to come. This is an ummah, this is a nation that had passed. They have what they did, and you have what you do, and you won't be asked about what they did. You won't come in the Day of Judgment and you will be asked, why did this Sahabi did this, or why did this Sahabi did this. You're free from this, right? But you have ayat in the Quran and a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that talks about them. So this is what you're concerned, this is what you believe in. So when we say Aqeedah, matter of belief towards the Sahaba, we're not going back to some historical facts. We're not going to read history or the seerah of the Sahaba or what happened after the Prophet ﷺ. This is not part of the Aqeedah. Part of the Aqeedah meaning Quran and Sunnah. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, praise in the Quran the Sahaba, that's a belief. It has nothing to do with history and things that happens and so on. People of innovation, people of bid'ah, what do? They start their belief and their religion after the Prophet ﷺ died, after the wahy is finished. That's not deen. After the Prophet ﷺ died, this is not something for a person to live with as a deen. The deen is the Quran and the wahy that was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ. So that what comes our belief in the Sahaba. So again, this is a very important point. We don't love the Sahaba radiallahu anhum because of what they did, of their actions and the battles and so on. Of course, this is one of the things that we love them for, correct? But this is not because of this that we get this from some narrations. No, we love the Sahaba radiallahu anhum because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ تَبَعُوهُم بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised them in the Quran. محمد رسول الله الذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من ربهم ورضوانا سيماهم في وجوههم من أثر السجود. Like the last verse in Surah Al-Fath, right? Praising the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. You see them making ruku' and sujood. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose them to be the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So we're talking about wahy, we're talking about text, revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praising the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. So who then come after that and negates this, or says, but this incident that happened, and this, whatever this happened, and history, by the way, even the seerah, although it's important for us to study it, but this is not something that the ulama would spend so much effort to authenticate it, to make sure that it's authentic, right? This is well known among the people of knowledge. You would find the hadith and so on about matters of belief, matters of ahkam, halal and haram. Yes, the hadith is authenticated, this is weak, this is fabricated, this is authentic because it's a matter of belief or matters of ibadah, halal and haram, the deen. But incidences that happens, right? They used to, whenever somebody would narrate something, whether with a chain of narration or not, you would find the books full of these things. So you cannot build an action as a result of a history book, right? Or something, especially if it happened after the Prophet ﷺ, when the wahy is completed, you would find all kinds of fabrications and all kinds of adding things. And every time somebody is in charge or in power, he would order the writers or the historians, right, to write whatever suits his benefits, right? Until today, you'd be amazed how every time somebody becomes in power, right, the history is changed, and the books of history is changed, and they write whatever, fits them, and the heroes are what they see as heroes, and the bad people is what they see as bad people. So the history is full of wrong things and fabricated things from books of history, and that's why the deen of Islam is saved by matters of al-isnad, matters of chain of narrations, and so on. So how can a person take his religion from books of history? No, alhamdulillah, we take our religion from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the way it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is how we should believe and have in our hearts towards the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. And they were mentioned in the Torah and the Injil and the Quran, as he says, وثبتت الأحاديث الصحيحة في الكتب المنشورة من الأمهات وغيرها في فضائلهم. The virtues are mentioned in many of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He mentioned the last ayah of Surah Al-Fatih that I just mentioned, Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. وَالَّذِينَ مَعَهُ, and those who are with him, أشداء على الكفار, stern against the disbelievers, رحماء بينهم, they have mercy towards one another. تراهم ركعا سجدا, you would find them making a lot of ruku' and a lot of sujood, which refers to the ibadah that they used to make. يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانًا, they seek the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure. سِمَاهُمْ فِي وُجُوهِ مِنْ أَثَرِ السُّجُودِ, their sign of the sujood on their faces. Their example is like the example in the Torah, and the same or the like in the Injil, till the end of the ayah. So this ayah clearly praise the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and more verses, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آوَوا وَنَصَرُوا أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَرِزْقٌ كَرِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying that these are the true believers. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ حَقًّا, not just هُمُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, not just they are the believers, they are the true believers. If you want to follow the true believers, they are those who believed and made hijrah and they fought for the sake of Allah, and those who were the refuge and gave victory to the Prophet ﷺ. The first part of the ayah talks about the muhajirin, the second part of the ayah talks about the ansar. These are the true believers. For them is the maghfirah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgiveness and the generous provision from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ayah that we said was سَابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ. As we said before, this ayah is an evidence, right, that these are the only ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with till the day of judgment. And the Muslims are all classified into three categories only. السابقون الأولون, the foremost among the muhajirin, and the ansar, والذين اتبعوهم بإحسان, and those who followed them with ihsan, with goodness, they are the ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with, and they are pleased with Him. No other category. So either you become from the muhajirin or the ansar, which is the qadr of Allah that we can't. So the only chance basically is to be only from one group, and that is those who follow them with goodness, not just claiming, but those who follow them with goodness, they are the ones that they would receive the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. لَقَدْ تَابَ اللَّهُ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ فِي سَاعَةِ الْعُسْرَةِ, stating the fact, and you can imagine wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying that Allah had accepted the repentance and forgave the Prophet ﷺ and the muhajirin and the ansar, those who followed him in the time of Sa'at al-Usra and the Battle of Tabuk and so on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgave them. This is what is more or stronger praise than this. Is anyone after the companions radiallahu anhum is given this during their lifetime? Of course not. Why? Because they need wahi, they need revelation from Allah. So who would be followed after the companions radiallahu anhum when you do not know if they are from the people of Jannah or not? No one, right? So this, why? Because they have this in the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many verses, but this should be enough inshallah ta'ala. Also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he said to the people of Badr, as it's mentioned in Bukhari and others, اعملوا ما شئتم فقد غفرت لكم. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that to the people of Badr, the people of the battle of Badr, do whatever you will, I had forgiven you. Right? And of course the statement doesn't mean do as you will, meaning commit sins, because they didn't do that. Imagine, right? What did they do as a result of that? They continued to be steadfast on the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them, do whatever you will, you have been forgiven. And they were وَكَانُوا 310. They were 300 and over 10, 312, 13, 14, like this. And also the Prophet ﷺ said لا يدخل النار ممن بايع تحت الشجرة. Prophet ﷺ said no one gave the pledge under the tree, which is mentioned in the Quran, those who gave the bay'ah of Al-Aqaba to the Prophet ﷺ from the Ansar. The Prophet ﷺ said none of them will enter the hellfire. بل قد رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. As we heard, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was pleased with them and they are pleased with him. And they were 1,400, and it was said 500. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لقد رضي الله عن المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة فعلم ما في قلوبهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indeed was pleased with the believers, those who gave you the pledge of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam under the tree. فعلم ما في قلوبهم. This is another high level of praise, that Allah knew what's in their hearts, right? And how their hearts were so pure. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised them as a result of this. And also we believe وَنَشْهَدْ بِأَنَّهُمْ أَفْضَلْ الْقُرُونَ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. They are the best of the generation of this ummah. التي هي أفضل الأمم, which is the best of all nations. So they are the best of the best. The best ummah is the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the best of this ummah is the first generation, the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. وَأَنَّ مَنْ, which is the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, مَنْ أَنْفَقَ مثل أحد ذهبا ممن بعدهم لم يبلغ مد أحدهم ولا نصيفا. That whoever after them, after the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, whoever spend the like of Uhud gold would not come close or equal to the full of their hands of their charity. So one of them would give 2 hands full of charity, and you come with the mountain of Uhud weight of gold, they are still better than you. This is the blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He chooses whoever He will subhanahu wa ta'ala to gain this level of reward and virtue. With all of this, مع الاعتقاد أنهم لم يكونوا معصومين. We also have to believe that they were not معصومين, they were not sinless and protected from falling into sins. بل يجوز عليهم الخطأ. But it's valid for them to make mistakes. ولكنهم, but they are مجتهدون. للمصيب منهم أجران ولمن أخطأ أجرا واحدا على اجتهاده. They are مجتهدون. Whoever is correct in his ijtihad, he gets double of the reward. Whoever make a mistake in his ijtihad, he gets still 1 reward. So they can make mistakes, but after all they are rewarded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَخَطَأُهُ مَغْفُورٌ. And his mistake is forgiven. وَلَهُمْ مِنَ الْفَضَائِلِ وَالصَّالِحَاتِ وَالثَّوَابِ ما يذهب سيء ما وقع منهم إن وقع. And with the virtue that they have and the righteous good deeds and what they did with the Prophet ﷺ, that would wipe the things or something if it happens after them. And as he says, وَهَلْ يُغَيِّرْ يَسِيرُ النَّجَاسَةِ الْبَحْرِ إِذَا وَقَعَتْ فِيهِ. And if you have a small piece of impurity in you and you throw it into the ocean or the sea, does it change anything in it? Of course not. So the same thing. رضي الله عنهم وأرضاهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them. So this is with the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. So when people indulge into the fitna, what split the ummah? The fitna that happened at the time of Ali radiallahu anhu, that after that the ummah was split. Split for the people of the truth, those who followed the way it was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and they said, yes, there was a fitna between two groups of the Sahaba. One group was correct, and they got double of the reward, which is the group of Ali radiallahu anhu, and the other group was wrong, right? But they get one reward because of their ijtihad. And they're all believers and all Sahaba radiallahu anhu. And from both sides, from the people of Jannah, the 10 people that the Prophet ﷺ said that they're among the people of Jannah, was some of them in the opposite side, like Zubayr ibn Awam radiallahu anhu, and Talha ibn Ubaydillah, and Aisha radiallahu anha, right? So we don't get into the details of this. We say this is a matter of ijtihad, and they're all forgiven, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with all of them. And this is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is something even to teach the ummah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the only one that is free from mistakes is the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a person can make a mistake and be elevated into the high levels. So it's all about the following of the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, and not to indulge into the details of what happened, so that a person doesn't have in his heart something towards any of them. If you read the history of what happened and so on, if you're not careful, you might start preferring one and not the other. Why did he do this? Why did that happen? And then you start without feeling, preferring one and not the other, and having in your heart something towards, and this is an evil thing. Why? Because you're having something in your heart against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in the Quran. So you put the history or the books of history, you put it before and forward the verses of the Quran. This is a very dangerous thing, right? So that's why these tapes that talks about the fitna and so on, this is something that the ulama said for a person to turn away from all of this. There's no need for us to listen to these things, and it doesn't mean that they would create fitna, but yes, of course it creates fitna. At least your heart will be with one or the other. So this is with regards to the Sahaba. Then he talks about Ahl al-Bayt, or the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, وَكَذَلِكَ الْقَوْلُ فِي زَوْجَاتِ النَّبِي صلى الله عليه وسلم وَأَهْلِ بَيْتِ. The wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took away the impurities for them and purified them, as it's mentioned in the Quran. وَنَبْرَأُ مِنْ كُلِّ مَنْ وَقَعَ فِي صَدْرِهِ أَوْ لِسَانِهِ سُوءٌ عَلَى أَصْحَابِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ وَأَهْلِ بَيْتِهِ. And we free ourselves, we distance ourselves from anyone that has in his heart or in his tongue anything bad against the companions of the Prophet ﷺ and his family and his wives and his Ahl Bayti, his family alayhi salatu wassalam. And we ونشهد الله تعالى, and we make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala our witness that we love them, that we مواlatihim, meaning that comes with the support and the love, وَالذَّبِّ عَنْهُمْ, and to defend them ما استطعنا, to the best of our ability, حفظا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, because this is the ird, this is the honor of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, that we defend. As the Prophet ﷺ said in his wasiyah, لا تسبوا أصحابي, do not curse my companions radiallahu anhum. And he said also alayhi salatu wassalam, Allah Allah fi ashabi, which means Allah Allah in my ashab, meaning I make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala against those who would attack my ashab, although this narration is weak. And also where the Prophet ﷺ said in Sahih Muslim, إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمْ ثَقَلَيْنِ أولهما كتاب الله فخذوا بكتاب الله وتمسكوا به, that I leave among you two things that you hold fast to it. The first one is the book of Allah. This narration is in Sahih Muslim, to hold fast to the book of Allah. وأهل بيتي وذكركم الله في أهل بيتي, and my family, my أهل بيتي, وذكركم الله, I remind you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to my family, right? With regards to the family of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, some people went into the extreme of worshipping them besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. and the other extreme, those who would curse them. And the proper way, of course, is what the Prophet ﷺ said, and to follow their way and to follow their understanding and so on. Then the question comes, which is again matter of belief, who are the best among the Sahaba? إجمالا, meaning in general. He said, أفضلهم السابقون الأولون من المهاجرين. In general, the best of them are the muhajirin, foremost of the muhajirin, in general. And he says in general, meaning there might be specific names from al-Ansar better than some of the muhajirin, right? But in general, the muhajirun are best. Then al-Ansar, ثم من al-Ansar, from the people of al-Madinah. ثم أهل Badr, then the people of Badr, the people of the Battle of Badr. فأحد, and the people of the Battle of Uhud. فبيعة الرضوان, then those who were in the bay'ah, the pledge of الرضوان. فمن بعدهم, then after them the rest. ثم, then من أنفق من قبل الفتح وقاتل, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. They are not alike, they are not the same. Those who spend before the Fath, the liberation of Mecca, and those who spend after the liberation of Mecca. So those who embraced Islam before the 8th year of Hijrah, before the liberation of Mecca, they are better than those who embrace Islam afterwards. أعظم درجة من الذين أنفقوا من بعد وقاتلوا وكلا وعد الله الحسنى, and all of them Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised them goodness, but this is the levels of virtue. And when it comes to the tafsir, when it comes to the details, who are the best among the companions radiallahu anhum? Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhum, he said, as it's mentioned Sahih Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, كنا في زمن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا نعدل بأبي بكر أحدا. We used to be, as meaning the companions at the time of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, do not make anyone the like of Abu Bakr whatsoever. That means Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was the best. ثم عمر ثم عثمان, then Umar, then Uthman. ثم نترك أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا نفاضل بينهم. And he says, then we leave the companions radiallahu anhum. After that, we do not see who is more virtue than who. Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman radiallahu anhum. And then he says, وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لأبي بكر في الغار. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said to Abu Bakr in the cave when they were migrating to Al-Madinah, ما ظنك باثنين الله ثالثهما. O Abu Bakr, what do you think of two people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their third. Referring to him and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and what a virtue and what a level that is. And the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, لو كنت متخذا من أمتي خليلا لاتخذت أبا بكر خليلا ولكن أخي وصاحبي. If I was to take from this ummah a khalil. Khalil is the highest level of love that can be reached whatsoever between two. If I would take one from my ummah as a khalil, I would have taken Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu as my khalil. And why the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, but my brother and my companion. Why did he say that, alayhi salatu wassalam? Because the Prophet ﷺ was Khalilullah, was the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This highest level of love and closeness is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَعَثَنِي إِلَيْكُمْ فَقُلْتُمْ كَذَبْتْ وَقَالَ أبو بكر صدقت وَوَسَانِي بِنَفْسِي وَمَالِي فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ تَارِكُوا لِي صَاحِبِي. Which means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent me to you, and you said he lied, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu said صدقت, or you are truthful. And he gave himself and his wealth to support the Prophet ﷺ, and he said alayhi salatu wassalam, shouldn't you then leave me, my companion, which is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, do not say anything bad of him. He said it twice, and he was saying that to who? Alayhi salatu wassalam, he was saying that to Umar radiallahu anhu, which is the second one in virtue to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. He was saying that to Umar radiallahu anhu, that when they had the dispute and their voice was raised. And then when it comes to Umar radiallahu anhu, the Prophet ﷺ said, إيه يا ابن الخطاب والذي نفسي بيده ما لقيك الشيطان سالكا فجا قط إلا سلك فجا غير فجك. He said, O Ibn al-Khattab, the son of al-Khattab Umar radiallahu anhu, والذي نفسي بيده, and by the one that my soul is in his hands, the shaitan doesn't meet you or see you in any path unless you will take another path out of being scared from Umar radiallahu anhu. Also the Prophet ﷺ said, لقد كان في من أو فيما قبلكم محدثون. Those who were among you, some of them were muhaddithun, those who would narrate or say things based off the ilham or was inspired to say things, right? Inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given to them. فَإِيَّكُمْ فِي أُمَّتِ أَحَدٌ فَإِنَّهُ عُمَرٌ. Prophet ﷺ, this is Bukhari Muslim. If there was anyone in my ummah like this, it would be Umar radiallahu anhu. And he was inspired more than one time that he would say and surpass and come before the wahy in whatever he said radiallahu anhu. And many things, like when the wolf and the cow spoke at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ would say, فَإِنِّي أُؤْمِنُ بِهِ وَأَبُو بَكْرَ and Umar. And I believe in this, that this has happened when the Bedouin came, and he said to the Prophet ﷺ that the wolf and the cow talked, and they guided him to go to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said, I believe in this, and Abu Bakr and Umar radiallahu anhum. And then when Uthman, then he talks about Uthman radiallahu anhu. Of course, there are many ahadith, and you can go to Sahih al-Bukhari and talk and find the chapter about the virtues of Abu Bakr, the virtues of Umar radiallahu anhu. Uthman radiallahu anhu, when he missed Bay'at al-Ridwan, the pledge of al-Ridwan, the Prophet ﷺ took his own right hand and he said, this is the hand of Uthman. So he put it on his own hands, alayhi salatu wasalam, as resembling that this is the hands of Uthman, because he physically missed it. And he said, هذه لعثمان. And he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, من يحفر بئر روما فله الجنة. Who would dig the well of Roma, and he would have the Jannah for him. Uthman radiallahu anhu did that. And the Prophet ﷺ said, من جهز جيش العسرة فله الجنة. The one that would prepare and spend from his wealth for the army of Al-Usra and the battle of Tabuk, for him is Jannah. And that was also by Uthman radiallahu anhu. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he covered himself when Uthman radiallahu anhu entered, and he said, أَلَا أَسْتَحِي مِمَّنْ اسْتَحْيَتْ مِنْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Shouldn't I be shy from the one that the angels are shy of, which is Uthman radiallahu anhu. And also many hadith. And by itself, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the khilafah in this ummah, after the Prophet ﷺ, as it will come, the Prophet ﷺ stated in the hadith the khilafah, and even stated the number of years as it will come. And the end of it was the khilafah of Ali radiallahu anhu. So this is the khilafah al-Rashida that was stated by the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, khilafah on the manhaj, on the methodology, on the way of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in that particular order. And he said about Ali radiallahu anhu, أنت مني وأنا منك. You are from me and I am from you. And the Prophet ﷺ said about Ali radiallahu anhu, إنه يحب الله ورسوله ويحب الله ورسوله. That he loves Allah and His Messenger, and Allah and His Messenger loves him. When the Prophet ﷺ in the battle of Khaybar, he gave him the raya or the flag, and he came that one day when he had a disease in his eye that he could not see. The Prophet ﷺ called him, and he was carried to him, alayhi salatu wasalam. The Prophet ﷺ spat in his eyes, and his eyes was cured, and he gave him the light. He said that, alayhi salatu wasalam, the night before. He said, غَدًا, tomorrow I will give the flag to someone that he loves Allah and His Messenger, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves him and His Messenger. So the people, as the hadith says, فَجَعْلُوا يَدُوكُونَ لَيْلَةٍ هَذٍ. All the Sahaba, they kept on the whole night thinking, who will get and receive this honor? This is a praise that will be forever, right? When this was the most important thing in their life, and that was for Ali radiallahu anhu. And he said to Ali radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, من كنت مولاه من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه. Whoever I am his support and his help, Ali radiallahu anhu is the same. And he said alayhi salatu wasalam to him, ألا ترضى أن تكون مني بمنزلة هارون من موسى إلا أنه لا نبي بعدي. He said to Ali radiallahu anhu in Bukhari and Muslim, don't you want to be to me like the level of Harun to Musa alayhi salam, although there is no prophet after me? So this is in that order as the Prophet sallallahu said in these virtues of the hadith, and as it will come, the hadith also that proves the khilafah to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam he said عشرة في الجنة, 10 people are in Jannah. النبي في الجنة, the Prophet in Jannah. وأبو بكر في الجنة, وعمر في الجنة, وعثمان في الجنة, وعلي في الجنة, وطلحة في الجنة, والزبير بن العوام في الجنة, وسعد بن مالك في الجنة, وعبد الرحمن بن عوف في الجنة. قال سعيد بن زيد ولو شئت لسميت العاشر, يعني نفسه. سعيد بن زيد, the narrator of the hadith, he says, and if I will, I would mention the 10th of the names, and it was himself. Right? But out of shyness, he didn't say it. Right? So it was Sa'id ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu, which is shows their how their nafs used to be. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Arhamu ummati bi ummati Abu Bakr," that the most merciful one towards my ummah is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. وأشدها في دين الله عمر, and the one, the toughest of them in the deen matters of deen is Umar. وأصدقها حياء عثمان, and the most truthful in their modesty or shyness is Uthman. وأعلامها بالحلال والحرام, and the most of my ummah that knows the halal and the haram is Mu'adh ibn Jabal رضي الله عنه. وأقرأها لكتاب الله عز وجل أبي, and the most among them, those who was the best in recitation of the Quran is Ubay ibn Ka'b. وأعلامها بالفرائض, and the one that knows the rules of inheritance is Zayd ibn Thabit. وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَمِينٍ, and for every ummah, for every nation, there's a trustworthy one. وَأَمِينُ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ أَبُو عُبَيْدَةَ ibn al-Jarrah, and the trustworthy of this ummah is Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. And the Prophet ﷺ said about Al-Hasan wal-Husayn that إِنَّهُمَا سَيِّدَ شَبَابِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ, they are the chief of the youth of the people of Jannah. وَأَنَّهُمَا رَيْحَانَتَانِ, and they are the two rayhana of the Prophet. Rayhan is a plant that has a good smell. The jewel of his eye of this dunya, the comfort to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma inni uhibbuhuma fa ahibbahuma. Oh Allah, I love them, so love them. Meaning Al-Hasan al-Husayn. And he said alayhi salatu wasallam about Al-Hasan radiallahu anhu, his grandson, inna ibni hada sayyid, wa sayuslih Allahu bihi bayna fi'atayn 'azimatayni min al-muslimin. That my son, this son is Sayyid, is a chief, is a leader, and so on. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make him the reason for conciliation or peace between two great parties from among the Muslims. So the Prophet ﷺ called them both Muslims. And the matter was as the Prophet ﷺ said. And he said about their mother, Fatima radiallahu anha, إِنَّهَا سَيِّدَةُ نِسَاءِ أَهْلِ الْجَنَّةِ, that she is the chief of the women of the people of Jannah. And many of the evidences with regards to the virtues in general to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and specific to specific people. And of course there are many with the names that are mentioned, that was not mentioned here, but there are many of those who had received this praise and a great virtue during their life from the Prophet ﷺ. And this is the ijma' or the consensus of the people of Ahl Sunnah, that the best of all of them in order of the Khilafah, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, then Uthman, then Umar, then Uthman, then Ali radiallahu anhu. And we'll stop at this point, and still some points with regards to the Khilafah and so on.